of knowing what we are, who we are, and what we are on the world to do. The Alter Rebbe started off with a statement in the Gemara that there are 5 different kinds of people in the world. A tzaddik that is good to him, meaning a tzaddik that has the concept of goodness. He's like a complete tzaddik. He's inside and outside a complete tzaddik. And you have a tzaddik that is bad to him, which means that even though on the outside he's seemingly a righteous person, but he's still has within him his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination. And then you have a middleman, as this book is called, the book of the middleman. So then you have the middleman, and then you have a wicked man that has good within him, and a wicked man that has no good within him. So in essence, the Alter Rebbe introduces us to a very important aspect in Torah and in the Chassidus, and that is Pnimius and Chetzonius. There's a concept of an outer and there's an aspect of an inner. There's an aspect of a vessel, and there's a concept of its light. Question in Pirkei Avos example: Diskalkel bekanken and mashe yesber. Do not look at the vessel, but what's in the vessel. That's a statement. Or you have the statement of the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, and that's the Father also. It says, Al tadin es chavercha. Do not judge anybody. Nobody should be judged. Nobody has the right to judge another person. And really, that's a very difficult thing to do. That's a very difficult thing for even the Mishnah to tell somebody. No, we are judgmental. We are human beings that judge everybody. So actually, the Mishnah says you should judge, but you should judge him to the good. And always judge every situation to the good. Why? Even though in a chitzonius, in the outer form, the person is doing something bad, but you can't know the inner person. You don't know the inner person. And as long as you don't know the inner person, the true inner person, how can you judge him? You're judging him b'chitzonius. Now, not taking away that the outer essence, the outer of a person is important, because the outer of a person means the way he expresses himself, the way he talks, the way he does his action. So you can't say that what your outer, your chitzonius, your shell is not important. It is important because it reflects a little bit what you have in the inner. If you have outer badness, then that shows that really you have to work on fixing the inner goodness. You have to maybe working on the inner, fixing the inner badness. So a person that shows bad, he talks bad, shows he has evil thoughts. A person that has evil thoughts shows that he has evil character. So he needs to go always to the inner to fix that the outer should be better. So I'm not taking away from the outer and the inner. Both are important, that you are good within the inner. That's what you should be a tzaddik gomer. A tzaddik gomer means a person that's completely inner and outer perfectly, they're in perfect unison in the inner and the outer. Echad b'peh ve'echad b'lev, that they don't have the two concepts, the heart is in one way and the mouth is someplace else. But ultimately, that's why we say va'amech kulom tzadikim. The Eibishter says every person is righteous. My nation is full of righteous people. Why? Because even though you're looking at somebody, you might think he's but you don't know what he is, and you don't know how much good he has in him, and what he has done in his life and his actions, whether they are known or unknown. You don't know that every person, so you can't judge a person. You can't judge a human being. The famous story of the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, one of his chassidim came to visit him, and he was a chassid of his, he was a disciple of his, who was a very big supporter of his, he was a diamond dealer, and he would come every year and he'd give the Rebbe Rashab a diamond, he would give him a diamond so he would be able to They use it to give charity, to support the Rebbe Rashab's work in the world. And this chassid, they came one time and he had to get online to visit the Rebbe Rashab, and the guy in front of him was a simple Jew. And he walked in and he was there for like a long time, an hour. And he came into the Rebbe Rashab and he was there for like 5 minutes. The Rebbe Rashab finished his business with him and he went on. And he came to give the diamonds to the Rebbe Rashab, his diamond that he was going to give. The Rebbe Rashab looked at the diamond and he said, what's so special about this diamond? The guy started to explain the beauty of the diamond. The Rebbe Rashab kept on looking at his rabbi. He said, I don't see anything. To me, it looks like a regular diamond. The guy was explaining him over and over again, the cut and the shape. I don't know the qualities of diamonds. And Rebbe Rashab kept on saying, I don't see it. So he said to the Rebbe Rashab, you're not a maven in diamonds. You're not a maven. You're not an expert. Trust me, I'm the expert in diamonds. And I know what a diamond is. The Rebbe Rashab smiled and he said to him, you're right. I'm not an expert in diamonds. And you're not an expert in souls. We'll stick each to our business. So you don't look at the vessel, but what's in it. And I'm an expert. That's my expertise. So my expertise is in souls. I can see the soul of a person. Over here, the Rebbe Rashab, the Alter Rebbe, everybody should know his own soul. And he should know his inner, he should know his outer, his chitzonis, his vessel, and the way, I don't even mean his vessel, his body, his physical body. I mean his character. You should know what kind of the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he expresses himself, the way he acts. We should all know these things, and we should know things that are good and things that are bad. And at the same moment, we should know our inner. We should know our pnimi, our inner being. And that's also important, and maybe very important, that we know who we are in the inside. So we have two entities to ourselves. We have the outside and we have the inside. Both of them are important, as I said. Both of them are equal, but seemingly we put more emphasis on the outside. Well, maybe we should also put emphasis on the inside, on who we are in the inside, our true being, who we truly are in our essence. And this the Alter Rebbe is going to teach us. This is what the Tanya in essence teaches us, that this journey of life is to be able to bring in unison together the outside and the inside. To be able to, you'll hear this many times, chitzonius. I need to teach you a couple of words. Chitzonius, pnimius. The outside, chitzonius is the outside, pnimius is the inside. Vikeli, light, and vessel, etc. Okay? So, the Alter Rebbe, so we have the concept in Torah, you have machshava, dibur, and maisa, which is thought, speech, and action. Thought. What's the machshava of a person? What is his machshava? Right? A person can do an action, and it can be a negative action, but his machshava is a positive thought. He has a positive thought in his action, right? So how do you know the person's machshava? Really, how do you know the person's thought? You have to really, and therefore you never know the person's thought. That's why you can never really, as I said, judge somebody in his action. So even you see a person doing a negative action, he has a good thought. The Lubavitcher Rebbe gave the example of a person. Imagine a simple person going into a theater, operational theater, right? Where they're doing an operation. The guy's getting cut up. The guy's a knife to the person. They're cutting the person up. Right, so the guy is thinking, "What are you crazy? What are you guys doing? You're hurting the guy. You're cutting him up, right?" But what's the machshava? They are doing something. They're cutting the person up. They're cutting him up. But what's the machshava? What's the thought? That they're going to hopefully heal the person. That through this action, which is seemingly a negative action, I mean, the person now going to have to heal. This cut is going to affect him in a negative way. But he's going to be able to be healed through this action. So everything, that's why when you see something in a negative way, who knows what the machshava, what the true machshava, what the true thought is. So the only person himself knows what his true machshava is, right? So you have an expression, halacha, breaking for the sake of building. That's even on Shabbos, there's this law. If you break for the sake of breaking, it's not a malacha. Right? Just destruction. There's no malacha of destruction in Shabbos, right? So if you break just for breaking, so it's not one of the prohibitions of Shabbos. Is the concept of breaking. It's the concept of breaking for the sake of rebuilding. Now you have the breaking becomes a malacha. The breaking becomes the work. Why? Because you're not breaking for the sake of breaking. You're breaking for the sake of building. And now it becomes a malacha on Shabbos. So the machshava, the thought, changes if it's doing one of the 39 malachas on Shabbos, or you're not doing a malacha on Shabbos. So machshava is important. Machshava means malacha is an action on Shabbos we're not allowed to do. So there's 39, he's always asking over here. Malacha is at 39 works of Shabbos. What considered work? Machshavas, malachas machshavas. That was my speech yesterday. But malachas machshavas, when it comes to Shabbos, especially Rav Shimon, says it's important to machshava, what you have when you do the malacha, the intent. So that's another example. You break on Shabbos, everybody holds if you break on Shabbos, you didn't do a malacha. You shouldn't do break on Shabbos. I don't tell you to break on Shabbos. But because breaking, if a person angry, he breaks, it might be a malacha, right? Because you're breaking for the sake of your own emotions. So your machshava is to a guy puts his hand through the wall. So putting your hand through the wall on Shabbos, if you're doing it to control your frustration, will be a malacha because you're breaking for the sake of your own emotions that you have problems in life. So you're not allowed to put your hand through the wall either on Shabbos. But if I just put my hand through the wall because I want to break, so there's not a malacha on Shabbos. But if I'm breaking the wall down because I'm going to rebuild the wall after Shabbos, that's considered malacha because that's the intent. It's for breaking for the sake of rebuilding. So this concept of machshava, we find through all the Torah that it's important that we have both things. We have the machshava. And on the other hand, if you have a machshava to do a mitzvah and you didn't do the mitzvah, it's not either worth anything, right? So I have thought to give charity, but I don't give the charity. What I didn't do the mitzvah either. So I need to have the machshava to give the charity or to put on the tefillin or to do what any mitzvah can do. And then I need to do the mitzvah itself. Because if I don't do the mitzvah, then I don't have the mitzvah either. So there's both of these entities in which really the struggle that we struggle with. What's more important? Limit and Meiser. What's more important? The Gemara has that same struggle. What's more important? The concept of learning or the aspect of action. So let's learn, right? Right? And from the general saying, so we're holding on page number 3 over here. This thing is very hard English, this English. This is the original, I don't know, whoever wrote this explanation of Tanya. They were very much English linguistics. I don't know, they had very, like the Queen's English. General saying that one whose deeds and misdeeds are equal balance is called a Beinoni. We do find in the Gemara, in the Talmud, page 3, in the bottom corner, it says page 3. We're holding the left column, dot, and the triangle. So even though we find in the Talmud the concept, the statement that a Beinoni, a middleman, is a Beinoni. You hear this word a lot of times. The Beinoni, the middleman, is one who's a half and half. Equal balance is called a Beinoni, while the one whose virtues outweighs his sins is called a Sadiq. So we do find that statement that a Sadiq is one who has more good than bad. 51% good. As long as you're 49, 51, you're a tzaddik, right? 99%. That's why the verse says, "V'amech kolon tzaddikim." The verse says that every person is a tzaddik. Because every person, you got to find a person. It's hard to find a person who has more bad than good. Most people have 51% good, at least, right? I have to say that most people are good, even though they have bad. Even though we only remember the bad for whatever reason. As humans, you only remember the bad of another person. Meanwhile, the guy has a lot of good. Everybody has good. He helps people. He's good people. He's maybe not good to you. right? We have those people that they're very good to others and not good to everybody, right? So because they're not good to you, that means they're not good people. It says in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, harchik mishacharav. If somebody's not good to you, go away from them.
Right.
Go away from them, and that's it. Don't make them the wicked, the general wicked people, because they're not good to you, right? A person's good. Don't judge. Don't put down people because of one sin they did, or 10 sins they've done, or even 20 sins they have done. You cannot put a person down because he has more good than in Jewish law. As long as you're 51% good, you're good. So you have to make sure that, in essence, I don't want to say this. It's on YouTube, whatever. I don't want to say this, but in essence, if you really want to be careful, you make sure to always do more good than bad. Okay, if you're keeping a cheshbon, if you're calculating your good and your bad, make sure you have more good. Yeah. Make sure you have more. You're like a child. If you're a child and you're worried about it, make sure you have more good, right? More stars on the board than brownie faces, okay? Than sour faces. That's it. Make sure you're 51% good. And the Eibishter says, the verse says, I didn't say this, my nation are all tzaddikim. Because I'm sure that my nation has more good than bad. I'm not saying they're not bad, but they have more good than bad. They have more mitzvahs than Avedas. So ultimately, when they're going to come for the court of justice, the Gemara says ultimately every soul that comes to the court of justice, since they have more good than bad, they're all tzaddik, and they all will go they'll all go to the right place ultimately. Right? That's what they ask. In Torah tradition, nobody goes to Gehenim forever. You have more good than bad, therefore everybody's going to go to Gan Eden. Everybody's going to go to paradise. You might have to go to Gehenim for a little to clean yourself up for the 49% of your bad. So you have to wash it off. You have to cleanse the negative you have with you. But ultimately, every Jew, 11 months, after 11 months, majority 11 months is going to go to Gan Eden. Why? Because you have more good than bad. Yeah. That doesn't mean that 11 months is not an easy situation. Nobody wants to go to 11 months to Gehenim.
No.
That's why people down here say Kaddish. They try to get him out of Gehenim.
No cable.
What?
No cable.
No cable Gehenim, right? Correct. So therefore, we shouldn't go to Gehenim. We should do tshuva. That's why we should do tshuva. That we shouldn't go. I'm not saying Gehenim. The Alter Rebbe writes that 1 minute in Gehenim is more painful than 70 years of Gehenim of pain and suffering in this world. So we should realize Gehenim is not something you want to play around with. So we should all work on doing tshuva and etc. But ultimately, everybody's going to go to Gan Eden. Everybody will go to Gan Eden. Why? Because you have more good than bad. Unless you're a terrible person, you have more good than bad, right? You walk in the street, you see a cockroach and you don't eat it, you get 8 mitzvahs every time that you don't eat it. So yeah. Right. Baruch Hashem. So right. So you imagine how many times you pass in the street, especially in Florida, beetles and bugs and everything else. And you said you didn't say I'm going to eat it. You didn't grab it and eat it, right? So every time you don't grab it and eat it, you get many mitzvahs. So you know how many mitzvahs everybody has over here. We're Baruch Hashem, we're full of mitzvahs. That's it. We're full of mitzvahs. That's it. Right?
Like a pomegranate.
It's like you're full of it's like a pomegranate. So don't worry. But you have Avedas. You've done negative. You got to take care of that.
What if it wasn't in your machshava to pick up that?
Doesn't make a difference. You walk by it and you didn't eat it. You could have eaten it. The whole machlekes of the Gemara. What should a person say when he sees a non-kosher object? Should he say, it's good, like if you walk down in Publix and you see a lobster, right? Everybody must be good. So what do you say? You say, wow, it's delicious, but God said I shouldn't eat it. Or do you say, oh, it's disgusting? So machlekes, so the tzaddik, can say, oh, it's delicious, but the Abisha said I shouldn't eat it. But a guy like me, not such a tzaddik, should say it's disgusting. Because to say it's not disgusting, how do I know it's not disgusting? Maybe it is delicious.
No.
Right? Might be delicious. So yeah, my Yetzer Hara might turn around to me and say, what are you saying? Try it out. And then you say it's disgusting, right? So try it out. So how are you just saying it's disgusting? You don't. Right. Okay, so you have to know how to talk to your Yetzer Hara. You have to know how to talk to your evil inclination to be able to overcome what your challenge is in life. Because you have to be honest with yourself, and therefore, even though we're all righteous people, Baruch Hashem, we're all good people, we all do a lot of good, but we still have Avedis and we have sins, and Baruch Hashem, we are more good than bad. That's the important thing. We're more good than bad. Doesn't justify the bad. I'm not here justifying bad. We should never be bad at all, right? Should not try to, right? Because that's the Beinoni. Halavai Beinoni means a Beinoni never did anything bad. So even though we're going to learn what means a Beinoni, even though I never did anything bad, I'm still not a tzaddik. Because tzaddik does not mean that I didn't do anything bad, as we're going to learn in tzaddik, right? A Beinoni and a tzaddik is both people that never did anything bad. Right? Like people around the table here never did anything bad.
By intention.
By intention.
By intention.
This is also what?
I said, we definitely have to disagree with that,
With what?
that we've never done anything. I think this
Oh,
table has
absolutely.
done something bad.
Oh, yeah?
That's why we have no
Okay,
kippah.
thank you for rectifying that. I was trying to be non-judgmental. Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's what all these
I'm
are about.
not going to argue with you. Okay.
You may be an exception.
No, yeah. Talk to my wife. Okay, weiter. This is only a figurative use of the term regarding reward and punishment. So that's why the Alter Rebbe says if we worry about reward and punishment, that's the concept of our good and bad. We're worried about, are we going to go to Gehenna? Are we not going to go to Gehenna? Are we going to get Gan Eden? We're not going to go to get Gan Eden. This is what our worry is. Then, because then we should know regarding reward and punishment, the Gemara says open regarding reward and punishment because the judge according to majority of it. The Gemara says that you are judged according to the majority of his acts. He is deemed righteous in his verdict since he's acquitted, been lost. So the Gemara says that a human being is judged according to majority of his acts. So when it comes Lamaila, comes above, if you have a majority of good, you're going to be deemed righteous. You're going to be deemed righteous in judgment. You're righteous in judgment. Doesn't mean you're righteous. It means you're righteous in judgment. Like you go to a court case and they said you're right, even though you're not totally, but you're right in this case, even though you're not the most righteous person walking out over there. But what should we tell you? In this court case, you won the case. So too, Gemara says the Talmud says when you come above, if you have a majority of good in the court of law, you're going to be judged to the right. To the good, to be righteous in this case, but that's not the concept of what we're talking about. The Alter Rebbe says we're not talking about winning a court case or losing a court case. You win the battle, you lose the war. We're not here talking about that concept. We're talking about the inner aspect of what it means righteousness. Just because you won the battle doesn't mean you're a righteous person. That means that you won't be judged. That means you'll survive this situation, which Baruch Hashem, people always worry about, people always have a complaint on Lubavitch and Chabad. One of the biggest complaints is that we tell Jews everything is good. That's one of the things. Don't worry, right? What? Because why?
Positive.
Yeah, be positive. Too positive, right? You have to tell people you're going to go to hell. You're a terrible person. What are you smiling for? You should be crying. You should be sad, right? Because you're a terrible person. Look at it. I'm going to tell you your sins. I'm going to tell you all your negative, right? So that's, why are we so positive? When the truth is a person has sinned. Everybody on the table is sinners over here. And we're going to, and the answer is, because Chassidus wants a person to go a little bit deeper in himself. and not to be worried so much about the positive and the negative. The question is, why do we have positive and negative? What brings about the concept of our positive and negative within us? If we're worried only about the reward and punishment, about the effects of the positive and negative, then we're basically never going to fix who we really are. We're only going to be worried about what is the reward and what is the punishment. What is the reward? Are we going to get the candy at the end of the day, or we're not going to get the candy? So ultimately, when you go to school, so you have always those students that are going to be the valedictorians of the class. And what about the rest of the class? So the rest of the class are basically irrelevant almost, right? They're a bunch of troublemakers. They never got the A plus. So we have this class for the valedictorians of the school. So we built this whole school, and we have this whole class for who is going to be the valedictorian and who's not going to be the valedictorian. So basically 90% of the class can basically walk out and they failed the whole school. They basically wasted their time in the school because they were not the valedictorians of the class. They're not Sadiqim of the class. No, everybody is important in the class, whether they're going to be the valedictorian, whether they're going to be they're going to go out with an A or a B or a C or even a D. Everybody is important in the class. And Baruch Hashem, that they didn't fail the class. That would be a sad situation. But if they didn't fail the class and they were a D in the class, then the class has a value to them, to their capability, to being Ds or Cs or Bs or even As and not A pluses. Because everybody is a value to the class. And that's really, so if you're coming to the world to be a tzaddik, to only walk out of this world being perfect, then you basically walk out of this world as a failure. You're not the valedictorian. You were not the tzaddik of the generation, and you were not the A plus in the class. Alter Rebbe wants to tell everybody, even if you're a B, you're still successful, as long as you did the capacity to be a B. That was your capability. To be a B, or even a C, or be even a D, as long as you haven't failed. If you fail, then you are, then no, get over Biknaka. You don't have to be a Z. You can still be successful being a D in the class.
From loss, there will come profit.
They sell, what was the guy name who made electricity? Bell Sa, what was his name? Bell?
I'm watching.
Bell, what was his name? The guy who knew? Thomas Edison.
Wow.
Thomas Edison was thrown out of school.
Right.
He was sent home with a letter that his mother should read. And the letter said that this kid's a failure, and he's diminished, he's a terrible guy. So his mother read the letter to him. His mother, he was a young boy, his mother read him the letter. He says, in the letter, it's written that your son is just too good for this class. He's just, he doesn't fit, he's too smart for the class. He's much more better. You need to teach him yourself because he's too good for the class. And he learned that he was taken out of the class. He said why he became who he was, because found a letter later, much later, when his mother died, he found the letter of that letter, the real letter that was written that was written about him, right? His mother didn't read the real letter. His mother changed the letter, right? So why he can't go to school? His mother read the letter. You can't go to school because he's too smart for the school. And really, the school wrote, "You're a dummy. You're a failure. You got to be thrown out." Whatever. Right. Focus. Right. So everybody fits in the class, and if you say you don't fit in the class, then the class is the wrong class. Then you're better than the class. So that's the Alter Rebbe, in essence, want to tell us we are all fit in the class. We all deserve to be in the class. If you're worried about being being successful and overcoming, being good and being judged l'mayla, trust me, everybody is going to be judged to the good, ultimately. Everybody, because everybody is good, has more good than bad. Doesn't make a difference who you are. So let's learn weiter. Let's do right, righteous and verdict since he's acquitted in law. And that's it. If you worry about that, you'll be acquitted in law. Like certainly the true definition of quality of a distinct level of rank of a righteous and intermediate man, our sages remarked that the righteous are motivated solely by their good nature, as is written, and my heart is void within me. That is void of my evil nature, because he, David, had slain it through fasting. So David HaMelech said, I got rid of my natural instincts. I've taken it out of my existence. I have no more the capacity of doing evil. If you can imagine such a situation. I am void within me. It's void within me. I have only the concept of good within me. That's a tzaddik gomer, if you could imagine such a person. Whoever has not attained this degree, even though his virtues exceeds his sins, cannot at all reckon him to the extent to the rank of the righteous tzaddik. If you don't have this, if you have the capacity, the potential, the capability, the evil inclination to do evil, then you are not a tzaddik. Then you're not a real righteous person, totally righteous person, in essence. All right. This is why our sages have declared in the Medrash, the Almighty saw that the righteous were few, and he planted them in every generation. This is what the Alter Rebbe right away tells us all. To be righteous, you have to be planted in this world to be righteous. God had to put you here in the world as a righteous person.
Otherwise, you won't have.
Otherwise, you'll never reach up to that level. You have to be David HaMelech to reach up to that level. You have to be King David to reach up to that level. But to become a righteous man is not it's not your job. It's not your capacity. It's not your capability. It's not your responsibility. Not who you're supposed to be. So, this is not a school of righteousness. This is not a school where we all need to graduate as valedictorians. This is not the perfect school. This is school. This is not a perfect world. Edison made the world that it would be perfectly imperfect. Thank God we have challenges in life. Because tzaddikim are a boring life.
Help us grow.
Yeah, you get bored of it.
So therefore he planted, for it's written that tzaddik is the foundation of the world. This world needs a tzaddik. You don't have a tzaddik in the world, you don't have the world cannot exist. So the world needs a tzaddik, and Baruch Hashem, the world has a tzaddik, but that is the avodah of a tzaddik. That's his service. That's not my service. But my service is to be a middleman. That's my agenda. My agenda is to be a middleman. What's a middleman? Of this question raised above is to be found in the light of what Rab Chaim Vital wrote in Shar HaKadusha. Chaim Vital was the prize student, so to say, of the Arizal. If you ever go to Tzfat and you visit the burial site, Arizal, who revealed the Kabbalah to the world. I mean, even though the Zohar was written by the Rabbi Shimon Yochai, but Arizal really brought it down into more of a practical, if you can say. Even the teachings of Arizal is extremely deep. And Arizal is right next to him is buried Rab Chaim Vital. Chaim Vital was his prize student. Everything that you learned from the Arizal didn't write anything. Arizal lived 36 years until he was in this world, 36 years.
Wow.
And he didn't write anything. Everything that you have written from Arizal was written by his students. The ones who wrote most of his teachings was Rab Chaim Vital. He's buried right next to him in Tzfat. So Rabbi Chaim Vital is because a lot of things that were written, nobody knows exactly if the Arizal said it or not. But Rabbi Chaim Vital was known as his student who the Arizal respected, and therefore what he wrote, Svarim, the books that he wrote on the teachings of the Arizal, was accepted by everybody as the teachings of the Arizal. Go to Tzfas today, you'll see the Arizal's the Sadiq synagogue, the Ashkenazic synagogue at Arizal. He was a multi, and a young person. Arizal, young, died very young, and most teachers of Kabbalah are based on his teachings of the Arizal. Imagine what you could accomplish in such a short period of time in his life. The Arizal introduces us. Kabbalah teaches us to the neshamis, the two soul concept. Neshamis, the pasuk says, the souls which I have made, souls in a plural. So the Arizal said that every person has two souls. He has two souls, an animalistic soul and a godly soul. So here we are introduced to the Jekyll and Hyde of who we are. We have two basic entities, powers that are within us, the concept of the positive and the negative. To the two souls, there is one soul which originates from Klippa and Siftarach. Here we are introduced to another word in Kabbalah, Klippa. Klippa means a covering. Siftarach means the other side. Covering. In essence, your animalistic soul wants to cover everything, wants to cover. He's trying to hide behind everything. Push something underneath the rug. That's your animalistic soul, pushing everything underneath the rug. Right? Hiding behind some kind of veneer, facade. Or as we said before, chitzonius. We're hiding behind some thing we're trying to portray. Right? Outside. Veneer, the clothes. What are we hiding really? Have to be very careful of spiritual people. People that want to portray spirituality. Yeah, be very careful. There's a lot of spiritual teachers out there. They're all trying to sell you something, and they're portraying themselves in a certain kind of a way. Meanwhile, what is their real agenda? What are they hiding? Right? What are you hiding? What is what are you really out to do? That's why be careful. I'm not saying to be careful whatever you receive from anybody. No. So that's why Chassidim or Torah is against, going to seers or this. What are they trying to sell? What are they, even though they have powers and they have, God gave them, but what is their ultimate accomplishment? What are they ultimately trying to do? Are they trying to do something positive or are they trying to do something negative? Well, music, for example. Music. What is the composer trying to bring out? Be careful with their music, with their feelings. It's even in the music itself. What is Bach and Beethoven? What kind of people were they? What were they trying to bring out in the music? Why would you want to be attached to that kind of music, to that kind of expression? Be careful. For what you receive and for whom you receive it, because again, their machshava, their intention is in the thing that they're bringing out, the thing that they're expressing, and therefore be careful with what you're learning from somebody else, because even though he's packaged it well, what is he trying to package? What is he hiding behind it? So your nefesh bahamis, my animalistic soul, he knows how to package everything very well. He's very politically correct. He knows exactly, he's very marketing expert. And he's a marketing expert to me, right? He's a very good marketing guy. So he knows how to hide behind everything. And you have to think about it, think about what does he really want to sell? What is he really trying to sell? Right? What is his real agenda?
What's under the curtain?
What's his real purpose? Right? So your Nefesh Abahamis, who knows you very well, who knows me very well, and he knows exactly the right buttons to push, and he knows exactly what I want to hear. So he's a typing executive. He knows exactly what you want to see and what you want to hear. I'm talking to myself. So my Nefesh Abahamis knows exactly the packaging he needs to do that will make me happy, right? But what's his real agenda? What's his pnimius? You have to not look at the packaging. You got to look what's sold inside. What is he trying to sell you? And that's why your Nefesh Abahamis is called Chutzenis. It's all in the packaging, right? You go to the store, it's all. This is the way you walk in the store, and the way it's portrayed. It's all. There's an agenda. This is well prepared. This is intentionally prepared of how you're going to buy something. It's all in the packaging. The inside, nobody looks at the ingredients. Everybody looks at the way it's packaged. You read the ingredients, you might run to save your life, but the ingredients is very small, right? It's very small letters, right?
Special glasses.
You need special glasses for the ingredients, right? But if you look at the package, you might buy it. That's you know that's Clipper. That is the outer thing. I'm saying that I would say that both should be good. The packages should be good, and the item should be good, right? But most of the time, the packaging is better than the item. And if somebody's going to give you something good, and it's not going to be packaged well, you're not going to buy it. But we do. We do. And that's why your Nefesh Abahamis is called a clipper. It's a covering. It's a package. We are into the package of the thing. We're not into the pnimius. And your Nefesh Abahamis knows that you're into the packaging, and therefore he's going to package it well, and he's going to make sure to do it extremely well. And number two is which is clothed in the blood of a human being. That's the next negative thing of your Nefesh Abahamis, and it's in your emotions. Your animalistic soul is very emotional, right? He's very extremely emotional. He's symbolic to the blood, to the warmth of a human being. Who would not want to get involved in something that is emotional? Something that feels good. Right? Well, it's an easy sell, right? It's an emotional sell. It's a sell of warmth. It's a sell that tells you that you're going to feel good. You're going to have surely the moment of gratification, and you're going to feel good. It's going to taste good. It's going to feel good. It is packaged well. You got the best salesman in the world, which is that's why this is, you understand, as Alter Rebbe packages it, you understand why you have a struggle with everything in the world, because it's well made. It falls apart later. But it looks good.
That's why going online and delivering a product.
But it's easy. It's made easy. Free shipping. Tomorrow. Yeah, how can you turn it away? It's almost like you gotta be foolish not to buy it. Like look at look how it's getting. They're gonna deliver it to you, and it's a machaya, right? Now. Imagine if you built acquire wisdom and knowledge that way to go Amazon and just acquire it. They can't do it, right? You can't package pnimius in the things. You can't do it the same way. It's impossible to accomplish it. Do it that way. So from the stems of all, so that's for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and that's why Torah is against eating any blood. That's why you understand why the Torah tells many times a couple of weeks ago, stick away from eating blood. Because the blood is the soul of man. It's really who he is. It's really who we are. We really we're chitzenis. Our outer is important. I'm not. Nobody here is to diminish the outer. Is thus to overcome the. We're not here to diminish the outer. We're not Sadiqim. We're never going to diminish the outer. Beauty is important to us. But it's still, the sheker is important to us. The falsity is important to us. And the outer is important to us. And the Tanya was not here to diminish the outer, because everybody would run away. Tell a person to go away from the physical and just live a spiritual life. They'll say, it's not for me. Have a good day. A tzaddik can say, I'll go away from the physical and live a spiritual life. A Beidani, a middleman, his physical life is important to him. And the way he looks and the way he feels and the way his emotions are important to him. And it is important to him. And the only way we have to learn is how to have the balance. That even though we love life and we enjoy life, how do we have an enjoyment in the spiritual life? How do we have a balance between these two things? How does the spiritual maybe take it as an important to us as the physical? How do we have that? Five more minutes, guys. Okay, you guys got the 5-minute thing. From it stems all evil characteristics deriving the 4 elements which are contained within it. But from this concept also comes evil. Because a lot of evil that we do is good, right? We like food. It's nothing. It's evil, but it's good. We like enjoyment in life.
Why is it evil? That's what we need.
Because ultimately it's evil because it's not truth. It's not real truth. It's not real purpose. It's just there for something else.
It's there to sustain life.
It's there for sustain life, which is really, it's chitzenis. Life itself has the outer and the inner. So what is true life? If I live a selfish life, it's not that I didn't do any evil, as long as I didn't hurt anybody. What's wrong with living a selfish life? Well, ultimately, there's no purpose in it. And therefore, in the inner, it's dead. So in the outer, it's there. In the inner, it's dead. So for a Jew, for a human being, it's evil. You're going to learn another thing, that the concept of evil doesn't mean hurting anybody. That's not the meaning of evil. Meaning of evil is purposeless, is evil.
Say that again.
Purposeless. Did I made up a new word? Did I make up a new English word? I'm entitled. So a person lives without purpose is also the concept of evil in the Torah. Nobody got hurt, but it's evil to myself. I didn't hear anybody. We're not talking about somebody else. We're talking about ourselves.
Well, nutritionally, we talk about wasted calories or pointless calories.
Yeah, wasted calories.
So if I have a purposeless life, I don't live a life of inner, I only live a life of outer, then I'm living again, nobody's getting hurt, but I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting myself spiritually. Therefore, that's a concept of evil. Nobody got hurt but myself. And the truth is, where is there only a negative thing of hurting somebody else? Even in Torah law, you're not allowed to hurt yourself. Shmaitem lenafshi sechem. You have to, it's interesting, when we translate shmaitem lenafshi sechem, protect your soul, means to protect your body. You're not allowed to hurt yourself. Hurting yourself is the same concept like hurting somebody else. Because why don't we all understand about hurting somebody else? The truth is, you are not you either. You don't belong to you either. Right? So hurting yourself is like hurting somebody else. Same thing. What's the difference? So just like I'm not allowed to punch somebody else, I'm not allowed to punch myself. I'm not allowed to take a knife and cut somebody else. I'm not allowed to cut myself either. I have to, but really, I have to protect myself physically, and I have to make sure that I'm a healthy person. And if I'm hurting myself, then I'm hurting myself. But the word is actually shmatel nafshisechem. You shall protect your souls. You're not allowed to hurt yourself physically. You're not allowed to hurt yourself spiritually. But you hurt yourself spiritually. You're not allowed to do that either. You have to protect yourself physically. That's why the biggest aveda in the Torah is to be a depressed person. Mara says if somebody's angry, it's like worshiping idol worship. Like doing Avodah Zarah. Everything that you would think is prohibited in the outside is prohibited also in the inside. So if a person's angry, which Avodah Zarah is he worshiping? Where's the Avodah Zarah? He's worshiping himself. He's angry because he thinks himself as an Avodah Zarah. He thinks himself as an idol. So he's the idol. He's the idol. He's the God. Right? Somebody, God forbid, insulted him. Insulting God. I'm God. So you have to in essence, that's evil. So that's evil. Some people, really the worst evil we have in ourselves is our ego. We have ego. How much ego do we have? The question is, how much ego do we have? Are we egotistical people? Are we little bit ego? What it says, you can have a shmina, eighth of an eighth. You know, you gotta get rid of ego. You gotta get rid of your ego. You gotta have humility. You gotta be humble. A humble person is never angry. He's never aggressive. Why would anybody be aggressive or angry? When you're angry, when I'm angry or aggressive, I hurt somebody else and I hurt myself. And the truth is, I hurt myself more than I hurt somebody else. Well, why is there a place for anger? Hillel said, why is there a place for anger? There should not be a place for anger in life. There should not be a place for aggressive anger, surely, in life. Because that's your nefesh habahamis. That's your animalistic soul. You're giving into your animalistic soul. You're giving into an entity that is giving you the capacity, the capability of being an evil person. And that's a sad situation, that a person would give in to his animalistic being to do aggressive acts of anger and negativity to himself, to somebody else for sure, but even to himself, to be able to hurt himself. And that's what Alter Rebbe says. These are anger, pride, which is from the element of fire within himself. The nature which rises upwards, the appetite of pleasure, which is the element of water. For the water makes things to grow in all kinds of enjoyment, frivolity and scoffing, which is and idle talk, which is the concept of air. And then he says, the element of air, and sloth and melancholy, which is the element of earth. That is the sadness. We have this, and this is good. This could be good. This could be good. The Eibishter gave it to us to overcome these basic natural instincts that we have. We can't blame anybody that a person has depression, or a person has desires, or a person has just is like a airhead, as they would, not the right word. That's the way the Eibishter created him. God created him, but he has to realize that that's only a covering. He has to go into the essence. Why does he have anger? Why does he have this character flaw? Why does he have this negativity? Why does he have this evil within him? Why do I have that? And the answer is because the God gave it to you. And God didn't give it to you that you should surely hurt yourself, or you should surely hurt others. God gave it to you to change it. So we're going to continue learning. My friends, I have to go. I apologize. I wish you all a wonderful day. We'll continue learning next Sunday. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful week.